Duane Francis was a legendary pilot of the Second World War, but in a surprising plane. In 1940, Francis earned his wings with the Civilian Pilot Training Program, a program whose stated purpose was to increase the number of civilian pilots, but which was very much a feeder program for military aviation. Francis enlisted in the Army in 1941, following the attack on Pearl Harbor. Assigned as an artillery spotter, he didn't fly a fighter or a bomber, but a Piper L-4, essentially the same Piper Cub he had trained on in the CPTP, but painted army green. Assigned to the 71st Armored Field Artillery Battalion, he landed on Utah Beach on July 28th, 52 days after D-Day, and flew spotter missions supporting the U.S. 5th Armored Division. The use of liaison planes, colloquially called grasshoppers because of their ability to take off and land in almost any field, spotter planes packed a lot of punch for their size. With a maximum takeoff weight of just 1,220 pounds and a wingspan of just 35 feet 3 inches, a single L-4, directing the firepower of an entire artillery division, could bring a greater weight of explosives to bear on a target than any other aircraft of the period except a B-29 carrying an atomic bomb. 2,700 L-4 served with the field artillery in Europe. Flying the L-4 was dangerous. In Europe, the broken terrain often made artillery spotting from the ground difficult, and the L-4s became the eyes of the artillery. The L-4s were vulnerable to ground fire and would often have to land in difficult conditions. The L-4, however, was not built for fighting. It had no weapons of its own, nor armor, which makes one of Francis's exploits all the more impressive. On April 11, 1945, accompanied by observer Lieutenant William Martin, Francis's L-4 came upon a Fiesler Fi-156 Storch, a small single-engine plane that was essentially the German version of the Grasshopper. Although the L-4 didn't have any weapons of its own, Francis and Martin realized that they had the advantage of altitude, and that the German plane had not spotted them. They radioed, "We are about to give combat." They dived on the Storch, blazing away out the windows with their Model 1911 Colt 45 pistols. They struck the Storch's windshield, fuel tank, and wing. Francis held the stick with his knees as he reloaded his pistol. He later recalled, "We were so close I could see the Germans' eyeballs, as big as eggs, as we peppered them." Panicking, the Storch pilot made a turn and clipped the ground with his wing, cartwheeling the aircraft. Francis landed, and he and Martin took the pilot and observer prisoner, having won one of the strangest dogfights of the Second World War.